opera singer who was her contemporary, who was actually at a higher caliber.
Who?
I can't remember her name, but because she was more technical,
Right.
Yes.
she wasn't as
Big
popular.
Mama Thornton.
So, and we're back.
And we're back. Hello, hello. So we're back this week with our second movie. And our second movie is George, right?
Oh, me? Okay. So my movie is Maria. And it's not a soap opera. It's not a telenovela. Maria is basically the story of Maria Callas' last week, I guess, her last week of life. Yeah. Is that what you say it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
the last week
and
of
so
her
basically
life.
a slice of life. And it stars Angelina Jolie. Obviously, everybody knows who, obviously by this movie. The movie I was interested in because obviously, I was curious about Maria Callas' life. I don't know much about her, and I thought the movie, the cinematography was amazing. Obviously, the soundtrack, the music, the score was just
Yeah, the
obviously
score
it
is
was
great.
good. It had to be. The only and actually Angelina Jolie was kind of good at doing her mannerisms, but because later I watched a lot of YouTube footage on Maria Callas to see if she had her down. I just could not get over the fact that it was Angelina Jolie the whole time. I kept seeing Angelina Jolie. She looks nothing like Maria Callas, and also even though they say they actually claim that she sang 90% of singing is Angelina Jolie. They say so, and some of it, and then about 10% is actually Maria Callas recordings. But it almost also the singing part seemed to me like almost like she wasn't singing, doing it right, like almost like faking
sing.
it. Well, I know when you watch,
Yes.
when you watch R&B music videos or just singing, like more modern, they'll do this with the mouth, like they shake the mouth, and you see opera how they do a certain mouth. And Angelina Jolie, I thought, was doing that kind of
She
modern
was doing
day.
her more vibrating.
Yeah,
mouth,
but they
like,
say,
you
and like, well, that's
you-
not that. They have a different way that they make their, at least from my point of view. So, I mean, other than that, some of those scenes were just amazing. There was the scene that they did with, where they do a Modern Butterfly, and there's all this like Japanese girls with the costumes and everything. Everything was big. It was a movie that on the cinematography level would have been good to see in the theater, but I found that certain things were kind of interesting too, like the guy that was interviewing her, which is the guy from Power of the Dog.
Oh, Cody.
Cody Smith or something. So, and I like her assistant. He was really funny, but I just I didn't quite do it for me. I mean, I like the music. I like cinematography. I just could not get over the fact that it was Angelina Jolie. I could not get lost into the character like if I was Tilda Swinton playing a character, and I forget it's still Tilda Swinton. So this was one time I just could not stop thinking that I'm watching Angelina Jolie. So yeah.
Bob?
Who cares? Who cares? It was like it wasn't Maria Callas. It was a bad imitation of Maria Callas. It was. I mean, the music was fine, but so what? I mean, if dub Maria Callas. Why am I watching Angelina Jolie, who can be a good actress? Why am I watching her play Maria Callas? I didn't see any reason for this movie being made.
Why'd they pick her?
She picked her, I think, obviously, because she hasn't done a movie in a long time. So I think that she was the engine behind this movie. I'm hypothesizing.
I thought if they would have done it years back, Cher could have probably done a better job.
He thought Cher looks more like
Cher looks more
Cher
like-
looks more like Maria Callas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Anybody.
Cher too old?
Yeah,
No,
yes, yes.
I would say if they would have done it years back, like maybe in the 1990s.
But he had a problem with the way Maria Callas looks and the way Angelina Jolie looks.
Look like Angelina Jolie.
Yes, that's
Prosthetics.
yeah, like a,
Well, yeah, and what was the scene in the beginning where they're showing her singing and you're seeing all the muscles on her face? What was the point of
It's
that?
called bad lip syncing. Really bad lip syncing.
But-
It seemed
Yeah,
like
but
a
I
music
mean,
video. That seemed like a music video to me, so.
Yeah, I just it eluded me
okay.
because I didn't see it soon enough to elude it myself.
Okay, I'm like these guys. I can't talk off the top of my head, so I have notes. Okay, I was curious to see how Jolie was going to handle this. I was like, okay, that made it interesting to me to see how she was going to play it. The diva, Maria Callas. But it was also in the probably about the last, I would say, the month of her life. I don't think it was the week of her life. I think it might be the month of her life. Pablo Larraín, director.
It jumps all over the place because she certainly met Aristotle and Nasser before
Yes,
that.
you're right. You're right. Is obviously in love with his subject and is very gentle with the character, I thought. Callas is probably the most famous opera singer of all time.
Of our time.
Yeah, still many people can relate to her problems. Like, she was totally famous for her exceptional and distinctive voice. It was more, she was very distinctive and very theatrical. And she kind of brought a different thing to it, like Patty says, like a blues singer. She's more like the blues singer of opera. You know?
An opera blues singer. That's what I always thought of her as.
The thing that, she has this very distinctive voice. She's 53 when she dies. Her whole life, remind me of like an athlete, but except she's 53. But her whole life is going. Like the thing that is her thing is her voice, and she's losing it. Aristotle Onassis, I think she was with him for like 20 years or something.
Oh, no, not that long. Yeah.
10 years.
10 years, I think.
Long.
Yeah.
He left her.
For Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah. So her whole life is disappearing under her feet. You know what I mean? It's like her whole identity is leaving her. Now you could say that she kind of helped it along with her addiction to prescriptive drugs. Huge smoker, drinker, probably not that great for your voice. And for her to continue she'd have to make a huge change. And that's why I thought it was a story maybe for everybody. If you get to be any age at all, you go through stages like where you have to make an adjustment and a change to a new situation, a new you, a new body, a new whatever. And so this is her time. Like an athlete might go through it in his 30s. She went through it at 53, which is still really young. But she was still trying to get it back. And without changing all that stuff, I didn't see able to do that. Angelina's performance in this, to me, was almost as good as the performance in The Changeling, which I thought she was amazing in. So I will give it a second. I thought her performance was fine. But if I'm Maria Callas, do I want to see a movie made about the worst week in my life?
Right.
And that is my defining thing. It's like she was so much more than this. She was going through a bad
week.
She was going through a bad
She died,
time.
but she had a bad
yes,
week.
Yes. I wish that the movie had given more of the greatness of this amazing performer and less about the worst week of her life. So I don't have any problems with Angelina Jolie. I don't know why they had to call it Maria. I just would call it, like I told you, I would call it the opera singer and make it about anybody opera singer who is going through this, right? Based, maybe inspired by her, but she was so much more than this movie. And that was, for me, the problem. Okay.
Maria Callas has always been my favorite female opera singer. So I was kind of looking forward to it. But when they said, look, when I don't like somebody, I forget their name.
What's her name?
Yeah. Angelique Jolene, I thought, they've got to do something. prosthetics. Nothing. She looked like Angelina Jolie, and she looked
Yeah.
nothing like her.
She's dark, and so is she. But that in that.
No, this woman had black hair, dark olive
Doesn't
skin.
Maria Callas
She
have
was
black eyes, too?
Italian.
Oh, she has
was
black
Greek.
eyes, too,
She was
right?
Greek, wasn't she?
Greek. Yeah.
Greek.
She has black eyes too, right, Maria
Yeah.
Callas?
Yeah.
Well, that was because she was with an narcissist.
No, anyway. So
But don't-
when I saw her lip sync, she was so bad. She was so bad, and you've got to get that down. If you're gonna do somebody like Maria Callas, especially with opera, they have certain movements
Yes.
because you're
Very structured and yes.
She was so bad. I was like dumbfounded. I was dumbfounded how bad she was.
Wow.
That I actually wanted to watch it again just to.
To hate her.
Did she do that? No, it's
Hate
just
watching.
Maria Callas had such an interesting life, and they showed none of it. As Susie said, the worst week of her life. Well, because she died, yeah.
Yes.
But it's like all they wanted to show was a sad, lonely woman doing a lot of drugs, and I'd be doing a lot of those drugs and drinking myself if I'd had that week. But it said nothing about Maria Callas, so they made this movie, and you were if you knew nothing about her, and what a great singer was. I can't believe Angelina Jolie sang that.
She didn't say anything. They're just saying
know.
that.
Yes,
No,
I
because
think
you know what?
that's-
She
yeah.
ain't that good.
She sang so that the words would fit her mouth.
Oh my God, that's even worse.
But you know what I mean? She.
Well, I guess
they-
that's the answer to what I was talking about earlier, that shot early on where they had the close-up of her face and you see all the different muscles moving. I guess that's what they were going for. But
Well,
it was
she-
like-
You
yeah,
didn't get
she's-
it because
she's
those
sing-
are
No,
not the
no, it's
muscles you use
ridiculous.
for
What I
high
mean-
notes.
they didn't use her recordings. On
Yeah,
the
they say that
thing.
she trained for 7 months, but 90%, estimated 90 to 95% of Callas recordings were used with Jolie lip syncing along.
She just sang
However-
so that
However
she would
what?
make the right.
Jolie singing comes to the fore during the film's final act.
Yeah,
That
fuck.
makes sense.
There's no way.
Like-
Did I almost say that? There is no way.
Yeah, it's like they didn't. She had such an interesting life,
What?
and they didn't. She had
Even
an
most
interesting-
No, no,
opera
no.
sing-
What are you talking about?
Even most opera
Maria
singers
Callas.
can't sing like Maria Callas, so I doubt that they use 5% of
Most sopranos
and
can't
and
sing singers.
Well,
Angelina
no, I can
Jolie's
believe that
voice.
because remember, she sounds really bad at the end.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and she made a comment that
but
she
bad
was,
for
Her
Maria
bad
Callas is different than
Bad is everybody else is great.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But even smoking, the drinking, the drugs, it's like this was a depressed woman. I can't remember what she died of.
Like,
Did she
Boredom.
kill herself?
no.
No.
It was sort of like heart failure, if I'm not mistaken. But she had a problem with her stomach. She was not eating,
Yes,
so
right,
that's
right.
why they were concerned.
Oh, she was high.
Was she
And I'm
anorexic?
talking about
Was
it.
she anorexic? She might have been anorexic.
See?
They might not have called it that.
It
at that
could
time.
have been, but yeah, she was very
Too skinny.
conscious because she actually had a stomach problem all her
That's right.
career. I
You're
think,
right.
so.
She did. But it was a disaster of a movie, a total disaster. I would definitely say don't watch it. Because if you really want to know about Maria Callas and hear a great singer, YouTube it. YouTube it. Or, or wait
Yeah.
to somebody who actually looks like her and can lip sync and says part of what her life is. It's a travesty. It is. It is.
right, it did not need to be made.
Yes. Okay.
Well, see, I don't know. I'm sort of like stuck in between both of you because I watched the movie and I had sort of.
We both
first-
hated it. Where was the in between?
I'm sorry. She did not hate it.
No, she always says interesting.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I didn't
In
hate
fact,
it.
I
but-
actually
hated
agree
it.
with you because I did sort of like Angelina Jolie in the role. What I didn't like was, I think, what you guys had said, that you still see Angelina Jolie.
Yes.
It's not Maria
I
Callas.
don't- she wasn't
so that
Maria
I agree.
Callas. Yes.
But the way she sort of carried herself, I thought, okay, her performance is not the part I don't like. Now, the part I don't like is, as I was telling Patty earlier, when she told me that Maria Callas was her favorite opera singer, I said, she was always like an enigma to me because I only knew her in that one era of time when she was going and touring. So I remember seeing there was like a fold out in our Washington Post magazine, I think it was called Parade, where she's on the cover. And this is a woman I would not call attractive, but her face to me was so stunning,
Yeah.
I would never forget it. Because you're right, her features are so unique. And yet, I never really, I mean, I remember reading the interview, and if I'm not mistaken, I think she did a 60 Minutes interview while she was
Yes,
on
she
tour
did.
as well.
She did.
Okay, she did, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I know she was also criticized for her tour, that because of her reputation, right? She was selling out. There was no way she was not going to sell out. She was selling out because people just wanted to see the legend of Maria Callas.
Absolutely.
Critics, on the other hand, were saying, oh, it's very disappointing to see her. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in some interview she mentions, well, I wish I did have the voice I did 20 years ago.
Who does
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's, like you said, her caliber of performance still must have been great because people were still loving it when they heard her
Right.
sing. But like I said, she had become such a celebrity. But I never really knew much about her life. The reason I knew about her was because she was dumped by
Aristotle.
Onassis for Jacqueline Kennedy.
Right.
Remember, that's all I sort of knew her as. Like Maria Callas was this. The only other thing was the title of her name, which they do bring up, that she was known as La Callas. In fact, her started that, and according to the article, if I'm not mistaken, she was the beginning of what you would call the diva. That people weren't called divas the way she was back then, because diva meant something else. It had nothing to do with her temperament. They claimed that she was at the peak and that no one could match her at all. That she really was one of the greats of her time period.
But she was great for a really exceptional reason. She was different.
Well, no, the greatness that, if I'm not mistaken, too, was that, like she said, people can technically sing. That's fine. But then people can emotionally sing.
Well-
And the critics claim that that's what she did best. That when she sang an opera, she's just not technically singing all the notes and hitting them all right. She literally is acting, and she's conveying that emotion in her voice, which made it such a unique experience to see her live.
Well, I thought Patty put it the best because I was saying, I don't know, I don't like opera particularly, but I love Maria Callas. And she goes, that's because she's a blues singer.
Right. No, exactly.
Because
And I
think
thought that was
I read
she
somewhere
did
there was
it.
another opera singer who was her contemporary who was actually at a higher caliber. I can't remember her name, but because she was more technical,
Right.
Yes.
she wasn't as
Big
popular.
Mama Thornton.
So Maria Callas would be more still a lot
Right.
more.
No,
Even though this
exactly.
other performer was technically a perfect opera
Right.
singer.
Beverly Sills?
I can't remember
Well,
her name.
see,
I can't remember her name.
that's a great example because, again, I didn't really know opera, but because of the Maria Callas thing, that I don't know, maybe I really did sort of almost fall in love with this picture and the woman and everything, right? So when I started studying opera, Beverly Sills was considered the best opera singer, I think, in the 70s when I was growing up, right? But there was also another one
Female
called,
opera singer. You're
well,
talking.
female, right. But then there was another one called Leontine Price.
That's right.
So the thing is, I was saying, but I love to hear Leontine Price sing more than Beverly Sills. And then that's when somebody told me exactly what you said. Oh, Beverly Sills, she'll never miss a note. She technically can trill up.
Right.
She
And
is
she's white.
perfection. No, she's perfection at that. Leontine Price had a warmer voice, like the Maria Callas style, where she could emote more. So it has nothing to do with hitting the notes. It's
No.
more of the acting.
Well,
It's a combination.
Well, opera-
because every singer has
And
to
she
interpret
wasn't
the
white.
song.
That's
It
the
reminds
whole
me-
thing of singing. What's more important, how many notes you can hit, or how emotional can you make the person
But
feel?
here's the
Right.
thing with Maria Callas. She could hit the notes and she could sing them warmly and emotionally also. So it
No, that's what I'm saying. That
yeah.
combination
Yeah.
is what made her, I think,
Right.
considered to be the
You know
greatest.
what I
at the time.
remember is like our father
Totally
used to
into it.
love opera. Okay, we have
Oh, okay.
opera
So you're
downstairs.
really surrounded
we
by it
have
then.
opera downstairs, musicals upstairs. My
Right.
mother, she liked Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Right.
So the
Right
thing
on.
that I thought was interesting was that but he liked kind of male, like a
Mario
Mario
Lanza.
Lanza, that kind
Right.
of
But he
The,
liked
the
he had
Nessun
Maria
Dorma
Callas'
song,
right?
right?
He-
And things
he-
like that, right?
But
Yeah.
me and my mother, she got me the thing from the library, Madame Butterfly,
Ah.
and she played. we were crying with the English interpretation,
Oh, right. The
So we
translation,
were
right.
listening to it, reading the English interpretation. We were crying our eyes out
Oh,
at
it's
the
so
end
sad.
of it, and that was Maria Callas,
Ah,
right? So
okay.
I have deep
Connection to it.
memories of her and being special. You know what I
Well,
mean?
like I said,
Special.
when I read that article and I just saw stuff, and like I don't think I even heard her really sing. I just was sort of enamored by what people were saying about what this woman was to the opera world, and like I said, knowing really nothing about it. So watching the movie, I claim yes, you do sort of see her life story. The way it's told is in a sort of surreal way. So the thing that I thought was fascinating was she's sort of telling it an autobiography out loud, to which, and I will point out to Pier Francisco Favino playing her butler, and then Alba Rohrwacher
absolutely.
playing Bruna, her
I
maid.
want to mention her. She was
Both of
good.
those, I thought, they were very
They were
important
good.
characters, because if I'm not mistaken, see, this, like I said, between 74 and 77 when she died, I really was just interested in her life. And I usually never follow people's personal lives, but when she died, I think she even left all her stuff to her maid, that they were really devoted to her.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm watching this and I thought, okay, but
They
it's
were
like
a
they're-
family.
well, they were, but they're not like in it in the movie a lot. And I thought, now this is strange, because if this is supposed to be the last week of her life, these are the people who are probably she was closest to, correct? And yet, they have this thing about her being interviewed by Mandrax, which is, like I said, that Cody Smith.
Oh, Smit-McPhee.
Cody Smit-McPhee.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but he was called Mandrax. Now, I noticed that the drug she was taking was Mandrax.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why the surrealness of this story, the way they're telling the story, I said, this is sort of an odd way, in my opinion, to tell her life. But then I thought, this is just the last week of her life. So she's supposedly being interviewed. And in fact, it's almost like you could tell that this is the calling of her death. Instead of her life flashing before her life, she's slowly going over it.
But
Because, like, I agree. When you, even just hooking up with Onassis, who at the time was like the richest ship magnate in the world at the time, right? And not even marrying him at the time, which I thought, oh, that must be sort of scandalous to a certain amount of people. But the way she sort
she's
of,
already. So,
well, no, the thing is the way she sort of looked at life. Being married didn't matter. She said, "Oh, I was married. It didn't work.
And you have
Why
no-
make?" Or I think she almost said, like, "Why make that second mistake again?" Not in this movie, but I think in real life. And that's why I was really trying to determine what was real in this movie and what was the Mandrax
I thought
effect
the
of it.
Mandrax was, and I didn't like it,
Yeah.
was how she saw things through the drug. You know what
Oh
I
no,
mean?
no, that's what I'm saying. Because even that's why the butler, Ferrucci and Maria or Bruna rather, they were always saying, "Oh, like she's imagining things." And like I said, it was hard for me to get through that. But anyway, I have to admit that I just thought, okay, for what they're telling of her life, my problem I have with the movie is I don't know what's actually real about. Like, for example, her supposedly secretly meeting with Onassis. I would like to find if that's true. I never heard that one.
I'm
That was
sure
sort of
she
odd.
must have seen him when he died.
Well, I know she always said that she always wished him happiness. Like even when he
Yeah.
got married,
Yeah,
he says,
sure.
"No,
no,
she did. She
yeah.
generally said."
Well, I'm
that-
sure she said it, but
But no, I think she truly meant it. That's what I'm saying. That's the kind of person she was. She loved him, and she said, "I think like I'll always love him, so I want him to be happy."
Right.
That was her mentality. That's why I said she's a very unique woman.
Yeah.
Of everything I remember trying to consume about her, and yet her past life and all that, I really didn't know. So I give it to Halleck, that Berliner. He plays Onassis, but there are some wonderful scenes in it that, again, I don't know if it's true, but I just thought were great. In fact, one of them I'm going to mention, which could be a spoiler, is when they go to Kennedy's birthday party.
Yes.
And, of course, the famous Marilyn Monroe coming out and singing. And the way she just looks at Hairstyle now says, it's amazing the amount of, attention and applause she's getting for I can't remember the exact quote, for somebody who can't sing, right? And then Onassis
But
just
you
looks
know-
at her and says, "Well, that's why no one notices your body. And I thought, oh, see, you're seeing what being a celebrity is. You are a celebrity because of certain things. Even he knew it was because of her voice, not of anything else.
But
So
I
as
think he was jealous of her, tell you the truth, or threatened by
well,
her.
there had to be,
Not
because they
jealous,
also
threatened.
mentioned something which I didn't know, is when she gave up the singing was supposedly because of him. Or even
Yes.
even having a child, supposedly, she mentions. I
Right.
mean, like I said, they mentioned things that I'm like being exposed to. I thought, is this real? Is this real? I don't know.
Because of the name of the guy interviewing her. So you're
Right.
seeing everything how she sees it
Well, that's what I'm
through
saying.
drugs.
Well, that's what I
but
mean.
let me just say that at that time,
Yeah.
including people we know, it's like people,
Mother.
right? That was very common for
Yeah.
women to give them
They gave my
tranquilizers or
downers.
Well,
you
no,
know,
that's
yeah,
what
you know what I
that's
mean?
what I looked up
And-
because I didn't know what Mandrax was. That was Quaaludes.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I thought it was a Marvel character.
But-
A Marvel
but
character.
But I'm saying that was very common at the time
Right.
to, and I have to say for our mother, it was the best thing that ever happened to her.
Yeah. Oh no,
Right,
no, no,
you know what I
exactly.
mean?
God
Yeah.
knows what she
In,
did.
in her case, they were putting it as a negative. But I do think she was in a transitional time of her life. If I was her, I would have thought about coaching, teaching, all that kind of stuff. But she
Right.
had to make that transition from the diva to the teacher.
That would be a hard
And but it's hard. But you must do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's
you know,
score it.
You must do it.
Well, I just wanted to say that, like, I actually thought the film was entertaining for what it was. My thing is, like you said, if you want to learn more about Maria Callas, I don't think you're going to learn through this movie.
No.
Because I will say this, because of Pablo Lorraine, he's the also one who did like the one on Spencer, Diana Spencer,
Oh,
which
so
I
bad.
didn't really like that movie.
No.
I mean, like he does these iconic. In fact, he did one on Jacqueline Onassis.
but he's
if I'm not
obviously
mistaken.
too in love with his subject.
Well, that's what I was wondering,
to
that he's
be-
fantasizing them
Yeah.
and how he sees them. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
what I sort of want
He
to
makes
mention.
her
so.
almost not person. You know what I mean?
right.
Like that's what I said. It's like he's too in love with her to be objective about her,
Right.
right? But there was another point I was going to make. Oh, Baryshnikov. She was the opera equivalent of Baryshnikov. Baryshnikov was, if you notice, he's a great jazz dancer. He's a great tap dancer. He's a great every kind of dancer, right? That's very unusual in the ballet world because
Right.
it's such a, I say with opera, it's such a
Disciplined.
perfect,
Disciplined.
restrictive thing
Yeah.
that it's
Yeah.
very unusual that a ballet dancer could be a great jazz dancer, which
Right.
you have to be the exact opposite of that,
Exactly.
right? You know what I mean? You use it, but you're opposite of that. And so I was like, she reminds me, that's what I was like, you're like the Baryshnikov of
Wow.
opera.
Let's score it up.
Help.
So, you,
Oh, is it
No.
me?
yeah.
No.
'Cause it's
George's
George.
movie.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
What? You? No, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
It's really difficult because
Oh, I don't find it difficult.
it's
at all.
difficult because I really don't feel the movie captured Maria Callas. On the other hand, if the movie would have been called The Opera Singer and
Or like
Angelina,
Diva, you know?
yeah, the diva,
Something.
Angelina Jolie would have been playing it, I would have given it a 10. But because it was about her, I'm gonna cut the difference. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Wow, how generous. I give it a 5.
Oh, wow. That's actually high for
Only
you.
because there's another one.
Okay.
It's going to be lower.
Because I gave this movie, I thought this was a 5. I say watch it or don't watch it.
Yes, I'm pulling a line.
Yeah, I give it a 5 too. I think the cinematography and some of the scenes
Oh, it was,
saved it from me.
it was
Oh,
beautiful. It
the
was
score and the
beautiful.
cinematography
their own.
really.
The Anvil chorus.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be back, and hopefully we'll all be back together.
They will send you.